A very good morning to you. Welcome to KTM Mid-Morning. My name is Koi. Now, we all love food. In fact, we do eat to live. Not only is food a source of pleasure, it's also a form of cultural identity. We've learned to associate fish with the Luos, or githeri with the Kikuyus, or bananas with the Kisis. Now, this week, we are going to take a journey, so to speak, a cultural journey across Africa and beyond to test out some international cuisines that we definitely shall enjoy. In fact, today we start with the only authentic Mexican restaurant in Nairobi. That's coming up next.
Hey there, welcome to Zapata. Please come in. So here we are. Zapata is the first Mexican restaurant in Nairobi, in Kenya actually. The name of Zapata came from a revolution fighter. That's why we decided to name this restaurant Zapata. What we are trying to do with our concept is to showcase what Mexico is, from the food to the drinks, the decoration. As you can see, we've got very colorful walls which are truly representing what Mexico is. The interior design represents a patio, which is a kind of backyard without grass, and it is basically, if you can look at our walls and the decorations, it represents a backyard without grass. That's why we've got these nice maceras. So it represents two houses. This side you can see the house, that's why it's got a fake window, the door. There is also a fake rooftop, and if you look up, you'll see this kind of sky effect. The flags, they basically represent a festive day, a day to celebrate. That's why we've got these flags, which we normally put them up when we are celebrating something special. Actually, what makes Mexican food really different from another cuisines all over the world, it is those spices, all those dried chilies, which are very useful, and especially the freshness in our food. In our culture, food is actually very important, and it's very central. Most of the important things, or most of the big celebrations as a Mexicans, happens around food. Funny enough, there is no way you can have a party, a birthday, a special fiesta, which is party, without lovely food. Someone was asking me about what is that specific difference between Mexican and Indian cuisine, because they are normally related somehow. I will say our cuisine is not as spicy as the Indian one, and also we do use plenty of dried chilies, which are not part of the Indian cuisine, though most of our spices came from India due to the influence our cuisine got from them. Mexican food is very healthy, and of course being a country full of vegetables, fruits, I mean, a lot of very good seafood. Okay, we do use a lot of chili, a lot of, as I was saying, dried chilies, but most of our foods or meals are not that spicy. Most of the time, chili, it is normally used to add flavor into the preparations rather than adding that hotness in the food. Unfortunately, authentic Mexican food is not being that promoted as the Tex-Mex food is, because most of the restaurants all over the world which are selling Mexican food, they are basically selling Tex-Mex food, which is that American kind of version of our authentic Mexican food. And actually, the authentic Mexican food is pretty much different than the Tex-Mex cuisine itself. Being part of a very competitive market in Kenya and being the first Mexican restaurant around, it's been quite hard for us to really reach the people that we want to attract, though it's also an advantage for us that it really makes us different. Authentic Mexican food, a real Mexican experience, from the drinks to the food to fresh ingredients. So far, the response from the local market, if I may say so, it's been quite good. Our cuisine, Mexican cuisine and Kenyan cuisine, we do have very, very common ingredients, which makes us to have many kind of dishes in common. Actually, we have a very, very, extremely very hot meal, which is camarones a la diabla. It means very, very hot prawns. So what we do, basically, the secret is in the sauce that we put the prawns in. It is a very spicy sauce. We normally use dried chilies, fresh red bullets, and loads of many chilies, due to most people, when come to a Mexican restaurant, they really expect hot sauces to be hot. You know what I mean when I'm saying hot. You know, it's not like going to another cafe and asking for a hot sauce and then they just give you a mild kind of chili sauce. No, when you come to a Mexican restaurant, you know you'll get a very extremely spicy and hot sauce. So in case you've taken a very hot meal and it's, you know, you don't want to get all that hotness, so you want to calm down, you can actually take a little bit milk, you can squeeze a little bit lemon juice, or you can also try a pinch of salt. So there is no difference between the food we cook in Mexico and the way we do it in here at Zapata. And nowadays I'm proud to say that we are growing our own vegetables, organically grown locally, of course trying to support farmers around. And it's good to have all those ingredients available so that food can really remain as authentic as it should be. Being an authentic Mexican restaurant, our menu, it's basically focused on those very representative Mexican meals. So when you come to Zapata, you'll find very interesting surprises, because you'll see that most of those very original and traditional meals are available for you at Zapata. At Zapata Restaurant, we have very special theme nights. We have Corona Wednesday, which is a day to literally drink as much beer as you want. We've got very special Corona combos. On Fridays, we have Fiesta Fridays. We all know guys really like going out on Fridays. On Sundays, we've got a family and Kids Day. So we have a special Sunday brunch menu and a special kids menu. One of the big challenges I normally have on daily basis is trying to communicate what our Mexican culture means. For me, as a general manager at Zapata, it is very important to make sure that all staffs really understand how Mexicans enjoy the Mexican experience, and also make them understand what people are looking for when coming to our restaurant. Most of the time we have a rough time, to be honest, when trying to teach them the names of some of our meals in the menu, but of course with time they will get used to them and they will definitely pick up. To gain success in this industry, you really have to make sure about consistency, which is the most important quality in a restaurant. You have to make sure that you are delivering good food, good service, and doing the right things at the right moment, day in and day out. Some of my favorite Kenyan meals are, let me start with matoke, which is this very nice tomato stew with those green bananas in there. It has a very creamy, soupy consistency, and also I really enjoy this other one, which is those mashed potatoes with corn and pumpkin leaves, which is called mukimo. It's also very nice. Actually, I really enjoy going out to those very local places and having a real taste of authentic local food. Trying to choose my favorite Mexican meal, it is a very tricky question. However, if you ask me which meal is my favorite from our menu at Zapata, I will say chicken fajitas, which is exactly what I'm going to show you how to cook today. As I told you, today I'm going to show you how to cook Mexican fajitas, which is my favorite meal at Zapata. So let's crack on that. I will start by showing you what the ingredients are and all the ingredients that you are going to use for this meal. So we start with tomatoes, red tomatoes, very nice and fresh. We have some bell peppers or capsicums, red, yellow, green, so that we have a very colorful meal. We have avocados, we have onions, white and red. We've got lime as well, very fresh coriander, a little bit red bullets, chilies as well, garlic cloves. On this side we also have chicken, that is chicken breast, which is boneless as well as fatless. Rice, it is long grain rice, a little bit of unsalted butter. We've got also chopped coriander, salt, and another spices on this side, oregano, white pepper, Spanish paprika, a little bit of olive oil. So we can now crack on the preparation for the sauce. So we need a small tray. What I'm going to do, salsa, which is the first recipe I'm working on, it is a very classic accompaniment for all Mexican meals. So I will just chop my tomatoes roughly. I don't really mind about the size or how they look, because at the end of the day I will just blend them up with the rest of the ingredients, so you don't really have to be very keen with how you are dicing them up. Okay, so I've got some red tomatoes. Let me just add one more. So I'm going to add red onion, which is a very Mexican ingredient. It's really, really fortunate to find it in here. Actually, when I came to Kenya, I didn't think that I could find it here, but I'm really, really happy to have it. A little bit white onion as well. I'm just doing exactly the same as I did with the tomatoes. I'm also looking at that the size of my ingredients should be almost the same so that they can cook at the same time, okay? I've got garlic cloves. I'm going to use 3 of them. They are already peeled. And also chilies, which is now the main ingredient in this sauce, or salsa, which is the same. So I'm using red bullets. I will just use them the way they are. A salsa should be very hot and spicy, but of course you can, add as many chilies as you want and make it as hot as you want it. It's not like you have to add loads of chilies and stuff. These ones are small enough, so I will just add them the way they are. Green chilies, which are kind of mild. They are not as hot as red bullets. Actually, if you don't want your sauce to be very, very hot, this is a very good tip for you. You can just use capsicums or green peppers so that you have that slightly hotness from the pepper, but it's not as hot as using red bullets or green chilies, okay? So here we are, probably a couple of them more. So here we are. Now I will just take them into the oven. My oven is already heating up, so it is 250 degrees. I want to get them roasted so they will have this roasted looking, and also they will be kind of burned, okay? But that's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, so while my tomatoes and chilies are getting roasted for the next 15 minutes, I can now crack on my red rice. So what I'm going to do, I have my blender here. I'm using red tomatoes. I'm actually using 1 small cup of long grain rice. So I just need a few tomatoes, probably a couple of them, probably 3. So I just have to chunk them up. I'll put them in my blender. Then I will also flavor it a bit with a little bit of garlic cloves. Right here. That's 1. Another one, they're pretty small, so I'm using 2 in this case. And then I'm going to add more flavors into my sauce with white onion. That is 1 small piece, actually. I'm also using a little bit of oregano, which is the one that is going to bring all the ingredients together in this sauce. Probably a pinch of it. So. A little bit of white pepper as well. I really need a very rich sauce. That's why I'm adding all these spices. Plenty of salt, because at the end of the day, this sauce is the one that is going to flavor up my rice, okay? Then I just blend it. So my sauce is ready. Here it is. As you can see, we've got a very finely blended tomato sauce, which is very rich, and that's why it is very, very thick. That's exactly what we are looking at. So I will just leave it aside for a while, and I will start showing you how to fry your rice. I'm using a saucepan. I will start by adding a little bit of olive oil, a tablespoon or so. And then a good tip for all of you at home is that when using cooking oil or olive oil in this case, if you want to flavor your meal with a little bit butter, because it really brings a very nice buttery taste, you can actually mix it up, but you should start cooking the oil first so that the butter will not burn up. Okay. My pan was already heating up, so it's all about saving time and multitasking yourself. At times at home you don't have that much time. You don't want to get into a very long recipe, so this one is ready. And I will just pour in my rice, which was washed previously. In this case, I'm using a cup of rice. So something that really works every single time when cooking rice. If you are using 1 cup of rice, you should use 2 cups of sauce, water, chicken stock, so that your rice will remain fluffy and very nice. So what I'm looking, by frying my rice, I want it to get that brown color. So I'll just have to carry on moving it around for the next 2 minutes or so. It's already turning golden brown, so at this stage I can add my sauce. So I will just make sure the rice is not sticking at the bottom of the pan. I'll move it around a bit. Then I will just check the final seasoning before I just leave it to boil away, as I can continue working on the rest of the food. So I will just reduce the heat of a medium heat. You put the lid on and you leave it to boil away for the next 10 to 15 minutes, which will be almost the same as the sauce. Meanwhile, we can crack on the chicken. So we've got 2 preparations going on already. That is my red rice, which is already boiling away, and also my tomatoes with onions roasting in the oven. Meanwhile, I'm going to show you how to prepare a very nice and authentic guacamole. So I've got a mixing bowl. I'm just preparing a small portion. That's why I'm using a medium-sized bowl. I've got avocado, which is already ripe. So I will just half it. Then, okay, you may have to remove the black spots in there. It's very ripe. So that's done. Now, before I start mashing it up, I have to give you a tip that it really works every single time. So I will squeeze a little bit of lime juice. You just squeeze it into your hand to catch the pips from the lime. You see, it's very juicy. So the lime, it's going to make the guacamole not to turn brown quickly, okay? On the same, I want to flavor it up with a little bit of white pepper, just a tiny pinch of it. Salt as well goes in. Coriander, I'm going to split the coriander that I'm using for this recipe into 2 so that I can add half of it at this stage of the recipe. So when mashing the avocados, the color in my dressing will be kind of more greenish, kind of color it up. Okay, so it goes in. So I don't want to mash it that much because I'm really looking for that kind of rough looking or that chunky consistency in the dressing. It's very, very nice while having a bite. I mean, a portion of your guacamole, you can feel those small pieces of avocados, onions, tomatoes, and stuff. So at this stage, what I'm going to do, I've got diced tomatoes, the remaining chopped coriander. I also have red onions, which are already diced. I'm going to add a little bit more salt just to check the final seasoning in case I may have to add more salt. And also, I'm going to add a little bit of oregano. As I told you before, oregano is one of the most important Mexican spices. So you may find that most chefs, Mexicans, we do add oregano into most of our meals, okay? So, tomatoes, it goes in. Coriander, onions, a little tip here. So I'm just going to add a very tiny portion of chili, that is green chili, which is mild, is not a hot green chili, because I really want to spice up my guacamole a bit. Okay, so there we are, a very tiny portion of chili. That's it. So here it is, and it's done. I will not add more salt, that's enough salt. So it's done, guacamole. Can we go home? Okay, so we are nearly there with our Mexican meal. So I've shown you how to make guacamole, which was very, very easy and very, very quick. It's already done. Our rice is still boiling away and our tomatoes are just about to be ready. So I will just show you at last how to make fajitas itself, okay? Which is the main course in this Mexican meal. So I've got this very good friend of mine's. We have yellow capsicums, red, green, some tomatoes, and also white onion. What I'm looking with this nice combination of colors is to have a very colorful meal, so that at the end of, I mean, when serving up the food, the fajitas, it will be very, very attractive to your guests, okay? So I will just start by slicing them up. So here we are. You have to pull out the seeds so that you are actually removing that hotness from the peppers. Then you just have to slice it up. I will just do exactly the same with the rest of the capsicums. So it's already getting colorful, as you can see. So there we are, green, red, yellow. We are going to add a little bit more colors with these red tomatoes. Lastly, but not least, we've got white onion. I don't really want to use red onion because the flavor is much stronger than using white. So I'm really looking at a mild oniony taste, okay? So I will just do the same as I did with the capsicums and tomatoes. You just have to slice it up. So there we are. Just give it a little shake. And there it is, our vegetable fajita mixture. Meanwhile, that one is done. I've got my chicken, which is boneless and fatless. I'm using chicken breast in this case because I'm grilling the chicken together with the capsicums, so it is much better to use chicken breast, definitely. So it is already cut it into strips, as you can see. I will just have to add more flavors in this Mexican story. Okay, so I have the chicken. I want to season it up with a little bit of Spanish paprika. It's not really hot. Most people really kind of assume that Spanish paprika is kind of hot or kind of chili powder. Not really. What I'm looking at by using this Spanish paprika is that smoky taste that is very, very nice, and it goes pretty well with chicken. So it goes in. Then I've got this, we normally call it taco seasoning, which is a seasoning that we prepare ourselves at Zapata. It's got cumin seeds, oregano, coriander seeds, more Spanish paprika, garlic powder. So it is a kind of Mexican spice mixture, kind of, you know. So it goes in. White pepper, just a tiny pinch, and plenty of salt. There we are. I will just drizzle a little bit of olive oil before to mix it up. That is like a tablespoon. So you just have to mix it up with your fingertips, making sure the chicken breast is kind of soaking all that marinade. You can actually give it like 10 to 15 minutes in the fridge. You take it into the fridge, let it to rest for a few 10 to 15 minutes, as I said. Then now you'll be ready to grill it up with your peppers. Okay, so I just removed my chicken from the fridge. It was there for 15 minutes actually. So all the flavors are already in my chicken breast. Meanwhile, I can now switch off my rice, which is nearly done, as you can see. And what I'm going to do, after I just switch it off, I leave the lid on, then I will just leave it to finish the cooking process with all the steam that is still being produced inside my pot, okay? I can now crack on the chicken. As I told you, we've got the fajita mixture with onions, tomatoes, bell peppers. I have my chicken, so I will start by adding half of a tablespoon of cooking oil. I've got my hot plate, which is very, very hot already. So I will start with the chicken breast. So I will just moving it around as I'm adding the capsicums, onions, tomatoes. You can already smell all those spices coming out of the mixture. Okay, so there we are. So I will just have to toss them in the mixture. It is very important that your grill, or probably at home with your grill pan, should be screaming hot, so that all the juices in the chicken, I mean, as soon as the chicken gets in contact with the hot pan, it will really kind of create a coat that will avoid the juices to come out of the chicken, so it will remain juicy. That's why we are using a very hot griddle. Okay. You don't really have to worry about seasoning, because we already seasoned with all those spices that we have used before when we were marinating the chicken. So what we are going to do, we are just going to check the final seasoning once the chicken is nearly done. Sarah, can I have a seasoning plate, please? So my chicken is done. I don't really have to add more salt. The seasoning is really, really nice. So what I'm going to do before to serve up my chicken, which is basically ready, I will just cover it up with aluminum foil so that I can keep it warm. And also it's good when cooking meat, that is beef, chicken, fish, you give it a few minutes to rest so that by the time you are ready to serve up, the chicken will be very, very juicy and very, very tender, okay? So meanwhile, I can show you how to finish up the salsa. So I can now show you how my tomatoes are done. You see? This is exactly what we are looking for. They've got this very bad looking, but the taste will really, really blow you away. It's very, very nice. So now from this point, we just have to blend it up. We can probably add a little bit water. It depends on how thick you want your sauce to be. A little bit salt, a pinch of black pepper as well, and also oregano. Okay, so I will show you now how to finish with our salsa or tomato sauce. Something that is very important to say about roasting the tomatoes and onions, it is that apart from removing all the hotness from the chilies, we are also bringing into the sauce a very special flavor. You know, it's much different than just boiling tomatoes with water, then all the flavor is going into the water that you are putting into the sink. So you just have to roast them up. Don't be afraid of get them this roasted. They may look bad, they may look like a bit, you know, burnt, but they will be very, very nice. So what I'm going to do, I will just pour them into my blender. A little bit water, just a drop, plenty of salt, oregano, again, a pinch of white pepper, then we are ready to blend it up. When blending your sauce, something that is very, very important, we are not looking for a finely grinded sauce consistency. We want it to remain chunky and somehow rustic. So you just have to whisk them up. So it's ready. We have a little test. Very hot. And here we go. You can see how thick and gorgeous it is. So here we are. It's now time to serve up our Mexican meal. So I've got a screaming hot sizzling plate, which I'm going to use to serve my fajitas on. So I will just put them onto my plate so that each and every of my guests can come and serve himself. There we are. We've got our very nice Mexican style rice, a bowl with guacamole, hot tomato sauce, salsa, and some soft maize tortillas. I will just top it up with some coriander leaves. There it is, sliced lemon. A little bit of grated crumbled cheese. And then I will just finish up with some slices of lemon, and there you are. Okay, it's time now to enjoy the meal. So I'm going to show you what a taco is and how you should roll up your taco. Okay, so I will start by taking my warmed maize tortillas. You can actually spread a little bit of guacamole. There we are. Then I will top it up with some of my very juicy chicken fajitas. A little bit of chicken. You really want to get all the flavors from the vegetable mixture, so I will add a little bit of sauce. Of course, being a hot sauce, you should really be careful. I will just add a bit of the hot sauce because I really enjoy that hotness together with the rest of the elements in my food, and then I will just squeeze a little bit of lemon juice on top. Let me remove the pip. So here you are, a real Mexican fajita taco. It's really nice. Zapata Restaurant is open from Monday to Sunday from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Bienvenidos.
Although some of the ingredients have changed and it has been influenced by many other cultures throughout history, traditional Mexican cooking has remained more or less the same. If you want to find out where that restaurant is, log on to the Facebook page. It's called KTM Midmorning, or you can send us an email to midmorning@standardmedia.co.ke. My name is Koi. That's all we have for you today. Join us tomorrow, and I'll see you then.